smoke. Breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs inside you. And the blackened eyes make my way into your mind. Just to know what you...
Today in the workshop, we're getting something ready for the Festival of Power at Santa Pod. So we go around the truck, checking everything over. One thing we're going to do, we've got a new set of spark plugs in it, but at the moment I've actually got the top of the engine off, well, the rocker covers off, because what I'm doing now is checking all the valve clearances. So that's what the top of Swamp Thing's engine looks like now. So I haven't cleaned this up. This is exactly how I took it off. Look how clean it is in here. There's no carbon. The main reason for that is because we run on methanol. Methanol is a really, really clean burning fuel. So the thing we're checking on this, we're checking making sure there's enough clearance underneath the rocker cover, the rocker, so that's the rocker, and it's connected, if you can see down there, that's to the push rod, and that's what connects it to the camshaft. The camshaft's all the way down in the bottom in the middle, so it's got one camshaft that does both sides of the engine. They come up to the roller lifter, so it's not hydraulic there, it's got a roller lifter in the bottom of it there, and then they come up via the push rods to the rockers that operate the valves. And it is one valve per cylinder, so we got one exhaust and one inlet. So that one's the inlet and that's the exhaust. Easiest way to look at it, to see that it's the exhaust, you look what's underneath it, that's the exhaust. So that's where it comes out. So the gases come out there into there from the engine, from the supercharger, it comes through that into there where the inlet valve is, and it's the same all the way down. Thing we check as well on this is on the push rods, we make sure that there's no bends in the push rods, and it's quite easy to see if there's a bend in the push rods, because when you look down the sides, if I show you there isn't a lot of clearance. So if you see any wear on the sides of the push rod, these are chrome moly push rods in there, if you see any marks on them at all, you know you've got a push rod problem. So the way we do it, you see I've got a breaker bar in the top of the supercharger. It fits quite nice, there's a 1/2 inch drive in there, and then if I pull down on this, I have to do it a few times and spin it. It's quite hard doing this by hand, and you'd hear the compression on the engine when it turns over. You can probably hear it squeezing, and then you can see the valves moving up and down. Let's do it one more time. Yeah, so what I've got to do next is I'm going to spin this all the way around a few times to make sure everything's moving as it should, and then get in there with a feeler gauge and set all the backlash and all the valves. So let's do some more before and after. So this is before my daughter is started to work on the shock absorbers. So she's polishing all the aluminium bits and repainting the bits where, this is where sometimes a tyre hits it and it rubs the paint off. So let's go around to the other side and show you what the difference looks like. And this is afterwards. Wow, what a transformation. They look fantastic. These actually look better than when I bought them brand new. They're so much shinier. So so that's another one she's done. I'm still working on the engine at the minute. So there's the breaker bar with all the rocker covers off and all the breathers and everything all off. So let's get back to setting all the lash in the valves. And then what I'm going to do is I've got some spare rocker covers. I'm actually going to put the spare rocker covers on. I'm not going to bolt them on just to stop dirt falling in there. And then we're going to machine polish the rocker covers. So this is what we mean by setting the lash. So in there, that just fits in there. So now we know the gap between the top of this rocker, so it's got a little roller in there, and the top of the valve. So this is the spring that holds the valve in. So we set that, you can see there, I don't know if you can focus it. So that's 28 thousandths of an inch. And we do that on all of them. So you have to make sure they're up and they've got no pressure on them. So it's just literally the rocker touching it. You couldn't do it when it's at, because that's actually pressing the valve down. So that valve is open and this one is fully shut. So you have to keep rotating the engine and do this all the way through, and we just set them at 28 all the way through. Okay, and I'm just finished this side. So this side's a little bit more awkward to do. It's hard to get the rocker covers off because you've got the water pipe here and we've got all the fuel lines. So on my truck, the water pump is situated down there. So it comes out the bottom of the radiator on the other side, comes across to here, goes into the front of the engine where the water pump would be. Because we got the supercharger and everything on the front of it, we can't run the water pump in the stock location. So then it goes all the way through the engine and it actually comes out the back here, either side, and then returns up into the top of the radiator. Now, the other thing with my truck is the fuel. So it's got lots of fuel in on it. So that's the main fuel line after the comes from the fuel pump. And that line there, that goes down to the bottom set of injectors. So I've got 16 injectors in this truck. So there's 2 of them. So there's actually 4 each side, actually into each cylinder. So as I was saying earlier, that is where the inlet is. So the inlet valves go into there, so it's spraying in there. But then also, I've got them all tied up out the way at the moment. We've got 8 injectors in the top of the bird catcher at the top there. So yeah, so we spray a lot of fuel into Swamp Thing's engine. But there we are. Just got to clean up the valve covers, put everything back on. Everything was spot on, nothing had moved. But it's one thing you have to check. So here we are on the bench. These are all the spark plugs out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the firing order in the engine. You can tell a lot, if the camera will focus on it. It won't focus on it, what was it? Oh, there we go. You can tell a lot of how the engine's working. Just keeps going and out of focus. You can tell a lot of how the engine's working by what condition the spark plug's in. So all these are actually in really, really good condition. It's a little bit fat on the fuel, but that's not a bad thing to have. It keeps the engine running a bit cooler. If I run it lean, so this will be completely clean, and all it'll do is you burn the plating off the end. So it's a little bit rich, but I don't mind running it like that. It uses a bit more fuel, but I can live with that. So the next thing we've got to do is put the new spark plugs in, and all we got to do is set the gap on the end of the spark probe between the band and the electrode in the middle. You have to set these quite tight because it's a boosted engine. So if you left them like stock, but the thing is they're all slightly different when you pull them out the box anyway, because it's so high compression, it can actually blow the spark out. So we just close the gap up a little bit just to help with that. So let's put that in my little machine and do that now. Okay, so these are the new spark plugs I use. So they're NGK, but there are 9. So the 9 is to do with what temperature they are. 9's are quite a high spark plug. So what we got to do now is we got to set the gap in the end between the band and the bit where the spark jumps to. So we put it in there. Now I've got this little tool on the bench which I carry in my trailer. What you can do is you can just drop it in there, and this little handle on the end adjusts to push on the end of the strap. So you just drop it in there. We get the feeler gauge, drop it in between the two, tighten it up, and now it's grabbed it. You can see that. Just release it, and then we can take the spark plug out and then just check the gap, and that one's perfect. Now you can do it a different way. So you could do it by getting another spark plug out of the box. So you just check it to make sure it isn't, because sometimes they get damaged in transport. So yeah, so that one's too big. So you could just do it by tapping it on the bench and then putting it back in. It's getting close, but it's quite easy to go too far. Nearly there. Bit more. Okay, so that one's now done. But you see how long it took to do that. Let's get another one out and do another one. So look how quick this is. Just drop it in, get the feeler gauge, drop it in the strap, tighten it up, it's bit it, back it off, take it out, check it, done. It's a lot quicker doing it that way. There we go, all 8 spark plugs done. Let's get them back in the engine. Okay, so the truck is back together, all the spark plugs are in, got the plates back on. This wire here is for the oil heater that heats up the sump. So that, if you look under there, that's where it connects to. So that's just we run that off a transformer. The battery's on charge, so we can get ready to fire it up in a minute. But before we fire it up, I'm going to do something else. Okay, so this is the transmission that's in Swamp Thing. This is a Turbo 400, but we're going to change the oil. But it's quite awkward to change it because there's so much stuff underneath it. So if I show you what's underneath, see, look, there isn't a lot of room there. So what we do is we got a little funnel that we put in, and the drain plug is just up there. So I don't know if I can actually film this. Let's see if I can. Let's put another light under there and see if that makes it a little bit better. Okay, this makes it a bit brighter under there so you can see what I'm doing. So you can see where the drain plug is. I've already undone it with the spanner. So if I do that, so the funnel lets it drop into the, the blue funnel there lets it drip through and not put oil all over the prop shaft, because the prop shaft runs underneath this with the cage and all the batteries. Try not to drop this thing in there. Alright, so when we change the oil, you actually have to have the engine running afterwards, because you can't just fill it up like a... You have to know how much oil's in there when the engine's running, because it has to fill the torque converter up. Nearly at the end of the bolt now. Try not to drop it into the funnel. There we go. Put some fresh Lucas Oil Shore Shift in there, and we'll be good to go. It's quite a nice colour, not burnt at all. If you know you had a problem with this, this just ends up being black. But yeah, it's been in there for a little while. Time to put some new stuff in. Okay, so we've put in the oil in. So we use Lucas Oil Shore Shift. It's a semi-synthetic oil, but I take it out of that and put it into this and put about 3 litres in each time. It just gives me a little bit more room to pour it into the gearbox. So we've got to fill it through the dipstick. So I've made this little pipe that clips in there, cable tie it all up, and just pour it in nice and slowly. You can't rush this, it takes absolutely ages because it's quite a small hole it has to go through. So that's why I only put, doing a gearbox change on this, it takes between 7 and 8 litres normally. Depends how much oil we've lost in the catch can, because it does pressurise the catch can a little bit when we do donuts. So let me fill all this up and then we can fire it up and then check the levels. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to prime the engine. So I'm going to turn it over, build the oil pressure up, and then we put some petrol in it and fire it up on the petrol, and then it will spin over onto the methanol. And then we can dip the gear transmission to see how much oil we got in it. Right, now we put some fuel in it. It might not go on the first one. We haven't started for a while. Okay, so we're going to have to do that a few more times because we haven't got enough oil in the gearbox yet. So when I was in there, I was actually going through the gears to make sure all the chambers in the gearbox has got full of oil. So I just dipped it with it running and it's still not on the dipstick. So let's put another couple of litres of oil in to top it up and then we can fire it up again. Okay, so we've put some more oil in it. Let's fire it up again so we can check the level. Ready? Probably hear what I'm saying. So we've actually got two little problems. That isn't a huge problem. So in there's an O-ring, and where it's been parked up for a while, the O-ring has shrunk a little bit and it's just leaking a little bit of fuel out. But on this line here, there must be something loose on it because it's actually leaking fuel out of here as well. So let me take it all apart and see if anything's wrong with this part of it here, because it's just leaking fuel out of the bottom of there. So this is the fitting that was leaking. Now I've just tightened it up. It was a little bit loose, but not loose that I would have thought it would have leaked. But to get it out, I have to take off the non-return valve that goes in here, because it's that one behind there. Okay, so I've sorted out the fuel problem. So in there is a little O-ring. So if I show you the one I took out. This little O-ring is where it's been parked up over the winter, is gone a little bit small, and it's basically, that's where the fuel leak was leaking. The other pipe wasn't leaking. But because we have to take it apart, so if I come in here now, because there is nothing that locates this, so we actually got to reset the whole fuel system now. So what I've done is I've capped off all the return lines. So all these ones have got caps on. So all we've got now is that's where the fuel would go in, and it's going up to the injectors. So now we set this to 0, which is it's just a little bit out. Let's just do that. That's on 0 now. Now I connect this, and what I'm looking for is 75. So if you look there, it's on 75. So that's what the leak down is. Now if I adjust this little bar here, you see this, you see if I just by turning it a little bit, that's half a flat. If you turn it the other way, that's too lean. So we want it at 75 there, and then when you open it, it'll drop right off. Back to 75. Just got to do all the linkage up now and put all the fuel lines on. I'm going to check all the pressures in these because these are these are return valves. So we can do that while it's off. It's Christmas! That's what Noddy Holder says, isn't it? I wonder what we've got. I think I know what it is. Oh, look at this. Loads and loads of goodies. Look at this. This is what we need. This is our oil supply for the year from Lucas Oil. Now, if you wondered how much oil Swamp Thing gets through in a year, this is how much we get through. Oh, don't know what that one. Don't know what that one is. Oh, they certainly wrap it up well. Oh, look at it. So we've got some new flags, new bunting. But yeah, the big one is the one we use the most of. That's the engine oil. So that's 2050 engine oil. Then we've got hub oil, heavy duty oil stabilizer. Careful not to trip myself up. Whoa, what we got? Oh, some nice Lucas caps. They're so good to me. They send me absolutely loads of stuff. So I asked what I need in the year, but they always send extra stuff. So we got some new t-shirts. This one? Oh, got another? What's this? I don't know what this one is. I think that one got a bit damaged when they in transport. Someone's got a smashed top on it, but it is red grease. That'll come in handy, especially when we're doing the work on the drive line. So when we take the half shafts out and we put all the ball bearings, we have to grease them all. So we've got nice grease now, so we can put that in there. I want to see what's in this box. It's spinning around so you can see it before I can then. So I don't know what's in this one. Yeah, look at that. So we got some bunting to put up. Lucas Oil's face masks. Some flags. This is the flags that we fly on the back of the truck. What else is in here? Sure what they are? And we've got lanyards. So if you come to the show and you want to find out more about Lucas, come and see me. Always have these with us. All right, so these are the fuel system things they do. So that's a clean fuel clean safe. Octane booster. That's injector cleaner, and you can use that in petrol or diesel. Ethanol conditioner. So if you've got an older car that can't run on the new E10 fuel, you can add this to it instead of having to put in the super unleaded, so you can actually put that in instead. So I'm going to do that. I can use that in my Viper. My Viper can't run on it, and also my Cobra can't run on it either, so I have to put super unleaded in it. So by adding that, that gets me around that problem. So then we've got fuel stabilizer. So if you're going to park your car up over the winter, you're not going to use it, you can put some fuel stabilizer in it. Toolbox buddy, we use a lot of toolbox buddy, that's really, really handy. Brake cleaner, we use brake cleaner a lot. EGR, so if you've got an EGR problem on your car, you can actually use this to clean it. And then of course you've got your complete engine treatment, so you can add this to the oil or the fuel. There's loads and loads of bits in here. Low viscosity stabilizer for a thinner oil, so that's for your synthetic oils. There's the heavy duty oil stabilizers. That's the bottles that we use in Swamp Thing. Then we got their detailing kit. So you got all the products they use in there for shining your car up. Wow, we've got so many cool stuff. So, thank you, Lucas. Okay, so Swamp Thing's up and running. All we got to do now before the Festival of Power on the Easter weekend, so we're there Bank Holiday Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We just want to do some painting up and touching up of the monster truck to make it look absolutely fantastic. We hope to see you there. I hope you enjoy watching this video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Suck me in the smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs inside you, and the blackened eyes make my way into your mind. Just to know